Commander Jiwan Park was eating his breakfast when the message arrived. He sat in the mess hall of the Earthship Incheon's Pride, drinking coffee and reading reports about their latest mission. Around him, other Marines talked quietly about home, about their families, about the strange worlds they had seen. The neural communication device in his ear buzzed softly. Jiwan touched it with one finger and heard the voice of Admiral Taemin Yun, speaking directly into his mind. "Commander Park, report to my office immediately. Priority Alpha." Jiwan put down his coffee cup. Priority Alpha meant something very important was happening. He had only heard those words 3 times in his 10 years as a Marine. The first time was when pirates attacked the mining colony on Titan. The second time was when unknown ships entered Earth's solar system. The third time was when humanity first made contact with the Galactic Confederation. He walked quickly through the ship's corridors. Other crew members nodded as he passed. They knew Commander Park as a quiet man who got things done. He had served in 12 different battles across 4 star systems. He never complained and never gave up no matter how hard things became. The Admiral's office was at the front of the ship. Large windows showed the stars outside, distant suns that humans had only dreamed about reaching 50 years ago. Now they traveled between these stars like their ancestors had traveled between cities. Admiral Yun stood with his back to the door, looking out at space. He was an older man with gray hair and many scars from his years fighting for humanity's place in the galaxy. When Jiwan entered, the Admiral turned around. His face was serious. "Close the door, Commander." Jiwan did as he was told and stood at attention. "Sir, you requested to see me. Sit down." "Jiwan, what I have to tell you is not normal military business." This surprised Jiwan. The Admiral rarely used first names, and he never asked people to sit during briefings. Something very unusual was happening. "Sir, what can I tell you?" Admiral Yun activated a holographic display in the center of the room. The image showed a massive space station, larger than any human city. It was shaped like a ring with many smaller structures attached to it. Ships from dozens of different worlds moved around it like insects around a light. "This is Arena Station," the Admiral said. "It belongs to the Galactic Confederation. Once every 10 years they hold something called the Trials of Strength." Jiwan had heard of the trials. Every species in the galaxy sent their best warrior to fight in single combat. The winners' people got special treatment from the Confederation for the next 10 years. Better trade deals, more influence in galactic politics, respect from other worlds. "The Confederation has invited humanity to participate," Admiral Yun continued. "They want us to send one fighter to represent our entire species." "That sounds like an honor, sir." The Admiral's expression grew darker. "It would be if they expected us to win. But I've seen the records of previous trials, Jiwan. No new species has ever won their first time. Most lose badly, very badly." He changed the holographic display. Now it showed recordings of past fights. Jiwan watched as warriors from different worlds faced each other in a large circular arena. Some of the fighters were huge, with multiple arms and thick armor-like skin. Others moved so fast they were hard to see clearly. Many had weapons built into their bodies or wore advanced technology that enhanced their strength. "The current champion is a Draknari named Gorvak," the Admiral said. "He has won 17 fights in a row. His people are born warriors. They live to fight, and they are very good at it." The display showed Gorvak in his last battle. He was 12 feet tall with 4 arms and skin that looked like it was made of metal plates. He moved faster than seemed possible for something so large. His opponent, a warrior from a world called Centauri, fell in less than 30 seconds. "Why do they want us to participate?" Jiwan asked. "Because they think it will be entertaining to watch us fail," Admiral Yun replied honestly. "Most galactic species see humans as weak. We come from a world with normal gravity, normal atmosphere, normal everything. We have no natural armor, no enhanced strength, no special abilities. They think we are soft," Jiwan understood. Humanity had joined the Galactic Confederation only 5 years ago. Many alien species still treated them like children who needed protection. Some thought humans were too peaceful to survive in a dangerous galaxy. "They expect our fighter to lose quickly," the Admiral continued. "They want to use our defeat to show other species what happens when you are not strong enough. It is meant to be a lesson about knowing your place, but we have to participate anyway." "Yes." Refusing the invitation would be even worse. It would confirm what they already think about us, that we are cowards who run from challenges. Jiwan studied the recordings of past trials. The arena was simple. A circular floor with walls around it. No weapons were allowed except what fighters brought naturally or wore as standard equipment. The rules were basic, too. Fight until someone gives up or cannot continue. Sir, who have you chosen to represent humanity? Admiral Yun looked directly at him. You, Commander. The words hit Ji-won like a physical blow. He had expected this meeting to be a briefing about security or a new mission. He had never imagined he would be asked to fight for his entire species in front of the galaxy. Me, sir? Why me? Because you are the best tactical fighter we have, the Admiral replied. You do not win battles through strength alone. You study your enemies. You find their weaknesses. You use your brain as much as your body. Ji-won remembered the battle on Titan that the Admiral was thinking about. Pirates had attacked the mining colony with superior numbers and better weapons. Everyone expected the small marine force to be defeated quickly. Instead, Ji-won had studied how the pirates fought. He found patterns in their attacks. He used their own tactics against them. The Marines won a battle they should have lost. The Draknari and other warrior species fight with power and speed. Admiral Yun continued. They overwhelm their enemies with superior physical abilities. But you fight differently. You wait, you watch, you think. Then you strike at exactly the right moment in exactly the right place. Sir, I am honored by your confidence. But fighting pirates is not the same as fighting galactic champions. No, it is not the same. It is harder. But Ji-won, you have something those champions do not have. You never accept that you cannot win. When others see impossible odds, you see a puzzle to solve. The Admiral changed the display again. Now it showed Earth, small and blue in the darkness of space. This is not just about you, Commander. Humanity's future in this galaxy depends on how we perform in these trials. If we are humiliated, we will be treated as a minor species forever. But if we show strength, if we prove we belong here, everything changes. Ji-won looked at his homeworld and thought about his family there. His parents, who had supported him through military academy. His sister, who worked as a teacher and believed humans could achieve anything. His nephew, who wanted to be a Marine like his uncle. How long do I have to prepare? 3 days. Transport leaves tomorrow morning. You will have 2 days on Arena Station before the trials begin. 3 days to prepare for the most important fight in human history. 3 days to find a way to defeat warriors who had been bred for combat. 3 days to prove that humans deserved their place among the stars. I will need to study everything we have about Draknari fighting techniques, Ji-won said, and information about the arena itself. Dr. Hyuna Lee will brief you on alien physiology. She has been studying Confederation species since we made first contact. Sergeant Minho Kim will help with combat preparation. Ji-won nodded. Minho had been his friend and fighting partner for 8 years. If anyone could help him prepare for this challenge, it was Minho. Sir, what happens if I lose? Admiral Yun was quiet for a long moment. Then we learned that sometimes courage and intelligence are not enough. But Ji-won, I have watched you fight impossible battles before. You find ways to win when winning seems impossible. That is why you are going to Arena Station. I understand, sir. I will do my best. Your best has always been enough before, Commander. I believe it will be enough again. As Ji-won left the Admiral's office, he felt the weight of his entire species on his shoulders. In 3 days, he would stand in an arena watched by billions of beings from across the galaxy. He would face a warrior who had never been defeated, who was faster and stronger than any human could ever be. But as he walked back through the ship's corridors, Ji-won began to think. Every enemy had weaknesses. Every fighting style had flaws. He had 3 days to find them. 3 days to figure out how a human Marine could defeat a galactic champion. The Confederation expected him to fail quickly and badly. They wanted to use his defeat as entertainment and as a lesson to other species. But they had made one mistake. They had chosen to fight humanity's battles in an arena where individual skill and intelligence mattered more than numbers or technology. Ji-won Park had never backed down from a fight. He was not going to start now. The training room was cold and empty when Ji-won entered. He had not slept well the night before. His mind kept returning to the images of Gorvak destroying his opponents with brutal efficiency. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw those 4 massive arms moving like lightning, each strike powerful enough to crush metal. Sergeant Minho Kim was already there, setting up equipment. Minho had been Ji-won's closest friend since their days in basic training 12 years ago. They had fought together in every major human conflict since joining the Marines. When others panicked, Minho stayed calm. When situations looked hopeless, Minho found ways to keep moving forward. "Morning, sir," Minho said, not using the usual casual tone he used when they were alone. Today was serious. I have downloaded every recording of Draknari combat available in the Confederation database. There are 147 fights involving their warriors over the past 20 years. Jiwan sat down at the display terminal. "Show me Gorvak's fights first." All 17 of them. The first recording began playing. Gorvak entered a massive circular arena surrounded by thousands of alien spectators. His opponent was a creature that looked like it was made of living stone. Slow but incredibly strong. The fight lasted 45 seconds. Gorvak moved around his opponent with surprising speed for something so large. He struck from multiple angles simultaneously. When the stone creature tried to defend against two arms, the other two attacked from behind. It was over quickly. "He uses his forearms perfectly," Minho observed. "Each one moves independently, but they work together like one weapon system." They watched the second fight. This opponent was faster, an insect-like being that could jump great distances. Gorvak adapted immediately. He waited for the creature to leap, then struck while it was in the air and could not dodge. 3 hits. The fight ended. The third recording showed Gorvak facing a warrior covered in thick fur with claws like knives. This fight lasted longer, almost 2 minutes. But the outcome was the same. Gorvak was too strong, too fast, too skilled. Jiwan watched all 17 fights without speaking. His eyes tracked every movement, every strike, every defensive position. Minho stayed quiet, knowing his friend was absorbing information, looking for patterns that others might miss. When the last recording ended, Jiwan sat back. "Play them again. This time, slow them down to quarter speed." For 3 hours, they watched the fights in slow motion. Jiwan took notes on his datapad. He marked specific moments, specific movements. Minho brought food, but Jiwan barely touched it. His entire focus was on the Draknari champion. "What are you seeing?" Minho finally asked. "Confidence," Jiwan replied. "Gorvak has won so many times that he fights the same way every time. He has a pattern." "Pattern?" "Sir, he adapts to every opponent. Against the fast ones, he waits. Against the strong ones, he moves. Against the skilled ones, he overwhelms them." "Yes, but look at this moment." Jiwan played a section from the 10th fight, and this one from the 14th fight. And here, in his most recent victory, Minho leaned closer to the screen. "I do not see it." Right before he commits to his finishing combination, he shifts his weight slightly to his left side. All 4 arms prepare to strike, but for just a fraction of a second, his right leg carries less weight. It is small, almost invisible, but it is there in every fight when he decides to end things. Minho watched the sections again. "You are right. But sir, even if you know it is coming, how do you avoid 4 arms moving at that speed?" "I do not avoid all 4 arms," Jiwan said quietly. "I avoid being where he expects me to be." A knock on the door interrupted them. Dr. Huna Lee entered carrying several datapads and what looked like medical equipment. She was the Incheon Pride's chief scientist, an expert on alien biology who had studied dozens of different species. "Commander Park, Sergeant Kim," she greeted them formally. "I have completed my analysis of Draknari physiology as requested." She activated a holographic display showing the internal structure of a Draknari body. "They are fascinating creatures from an evolutionary perspective. Their homeworld has gravity 3 times stronger than Earth. Their muscles are much denser than human muscles. Their bones are reinforced with natural metallic compounds." "How do we hurt something like that?" Minho asked. "You do not," Dr. Lee replied honestly. "Not with normal combat techniques. Their armor plating can withstand impacts that would kill most species. Their pain tolerance is extremely high. They are designed by nature to be warriors." G1 studied the holographic model. "What about their nervous system?" Dr. Lee smiled slightly. "I was hoping you would ask that. Unlike most species, Draknari have a distributed nervous system. Nerve clusters throughout their body allow them to keep fighting even with serious injuries. But this system has a weakness." She zoomed in on a point where the leg joined the body. "Here, and at 3 other locations on their body, major nerve clusters come close to the surface. These junctions coordinate their enhanced reflexes and balance. The armor plating does not fully cover these points because they need flexibility to move." "What happens if those junctions are disrupted?" Jiwan asked. "Temporary loss of coordination. Their body would still function, but their cybernetic enhancements would disconnect. Their superior reflexes would stop working for several seconds, maybe longer, depending on the severity of the disruption. Minho leaned forward with interest. Can a combat knife reach those points? If inserted at precisely the right angle, yes. The junction behind the left leg is the most accessible during normal combat positions. But Commander, you would need to be extremely close to attempt this, and you would only have one chance. If you miss or if Gorvak expects the attack, he will kill you instantly. Jiwan nodded slowly. Thank you, Doctor. This information is very valuable. After Dr. Lee left, Minho looked at his friend with concern. Sir, you are thinking about getting that close to him? One hit from those arms will break every bone in your body. Then I cannot let him hit me. Jiwan, this is insane. Maybe we should accept that some fights cannot be won. Maybe surviving is enough to show courage. Jiwan stood and walked to the center of the training room. Do you remember what happened on Titan? Of course. We were outnumbered 5-1. And what did I tell everyone before the battle? Minho remembered. You said that numbers only matter if both sides fight the same way. You said we would win because we would fight smarter. This is the same situation. Gorvak is stronger than me, faster than me, has more experience than me. If we fight his way, I lose in seconds, so I will not fight his way. For the next 6 hours, they trained. Jiwan practiced movements over and over. Drop, roll, strike. Drop, roll, strike. His body needed to move without thinking. When the moment came in the arena, there would be no time to plan. His muscles needed to know exactly what to do. Minho used training equipment to simulate Gorvak's reach and speed. Again and again, Jiwan practiced dodging the incoming strikes and positioning himself for the counterattack. Most attempts failed. The training arms tagged him easily, but slowly, very slowly, he began to find the rhythm. He began to understand the exact timing required. Your plan depends on perfect execution, Minho said during a break. One small mistake and you are finished. Every worthwhile plan depends on perfect execution. That is what separates good Marines from dead Marines. They worked late into the night. Other crew members passed by the training room and saw their commander practicing the same movement hundreds of times. Word spread through the ship about what Jiwan was attempting. Some thought he was brave. Others thought he was foolish. Everyone agreed he had almost no chance of winning. The next morning, Jiwan watched Gorvak's fights one more time. But now he saw them differently. He saw the exact moment when the champion committed to his attack. He saw the slight weight shift. He saw the opening that existed for less than 1 second. I can do this, he said quietly. Minho, sitting beside him, wanted to argue. He wanted to tell his friend to be careful, to survive even if he could not win. But he knew Jiwan too well. Once the commander made a decision, nothing would change his mind. Sir, what do you need from me? Pack my gear. Make sure my combat knife is perfectly sharpened. And Minho, if I do not come back from Arena Station, tell my sister that I tried my best. You will tell her yourself when you return home with victory. Jiwan smiled. I appreciate the confidence. That afternoon they boarded the transport ship that would take them to Arena Station. The journey would take 1 full day. Jiwan spent most of it reviewing his plan, visualizing every movement, preparing his mind for what was coming. He thought about Admiral Yun's words. Humanity's future depended on this fight. If he lost badly, humans would be seen as weak forever. Other species would treat them as inferiors, as primitals who did not belong among the stars. But if he won, everything would change. One victory could shift how the entire galaxy viewed humanity. It could open doors that were currently closed. It could prove that humans were not just another minor species, but equals who deserved respect. The weight of responsibility was enormous. But Jiwan had carried heavy burdens before. On Titan, the lives of 40 Marines depended on his decisions. During the border conflicts with pirates, entire colonies trusted him to protect them. He had never let anyone down. He would not start now, when Arena Station finally. Arena Station was unlike anything Jiwan had ever seen. The corridors were massive, built to accommodate species of all sizes. Some aliens were small enough to fit in his hand. Others were so large they had to duck through doorways designed for creatures 3 times taller than humans. The station's artificial gravity felt slightly heavier than Earth normal. Jiwan noticed it immediately in his legs and back. Everything here was calibrated for the average of all Confederation species, which meant it was uncomfortable for everyone, but not impossible for anyone. Ambassador Sun Ho Choi met them at the arrival platform. He was a thin man with tired eyes who had spent the last 5 years trying to earn respect for humanity in galactic politics. The job had aged him considerably. "Commander Park, welcome to Arena Station," he said formally, though his voice carried worry. "I wish you were here under better circumstances." "Ambassador, I am honored to represent humanity." Sunho glanced around at the various aliens watching them. He lowered his voice. "Commander, you should know that betting has already begun. The odds against you are 500 to 1. Most species have wagered on how quickly you will fall, not whether you will win." "Good," Jiwan replied calmly. "Let them underestimate us." They walked through the station toward the human delegation quarters. Along the way, Jiwan observed everything. The layout of corridors, the security measures, the behavior of different species. A Marine always gathered intelligence, even in unfamiliar territory. The human quarters were small but functional. 3 rooms connected by a common area. Through the windows, Jiwan could see the massive central arena in the distance. Even from here, it looked enormous. The circular fighting floor was surrounded by rising tiers of seats that could hold tens of thousands of spectators. "The opening ceremony is tonight," Ambassador Sunho explained. "All fighters will be presented to the audience. The actual combat begins tomorrow at solar noon, station time. You will fight in the 3rd match." "Who fights in the first 2 matches?" "A Vrelian warrior against a Korthian champion in the first match. The second match features a Zentaurian fighter against a Helian guardian. Both matches are considered even contests between species of similar strength." "And the 3rd match is supposed to be the entertainment," Jiwan said quietly. "The weak human getting destroyed by the mighty Draknari." Sunho looked uncomfortable. "Commander, I am required to ask if you wish to withdraw. The Confederation rules allow fighters to forfeit before combat begins. There is no shame in recognizing when a battle cannot be won." Minho stepped forward angrily. "The commander does not run from fights." Jiwan put a hand on his friend's shoulder. "Ambassador Sunho is doing his job. He has to give me the option." He looked directly at the diplomat. "Sir, I will not withdraw. I will enter that arena tomorrow and I will fight." Relief and fear mixed on Sunho's face. "Then I will pray for you, Commander, and I will hope that your courage is remembered regardless of the outcome." After the ambassador left, Jiwan and Minho explored their quarters. The rooms were equipped with standard Confederation technology. A medical station stood in one corner in case fighters needed treatment before matches. A communications panel connected them to the human ship in orbit. Jiwan tested his combat knife against various surfaces. The blade was sharp enough to cut through the metal furniture easily. Dr. Lee had been right about the weapon's capability. If he could reach the nerve junction on Gorvak's leg, the knife would penetrate. That evening, they attended the opening ceremony. The arena was already filled with spectators when they arrived. The noise was incredible. Thousands of voices in hundreds of languages created a sound like ocean waves crashing against rocks. Jiwan stood in the fighter preparation area beneath the arena floor. Around him were the other competitors, warriors from 8 different worlds. Each looked formidable in their own way. The Vrelian had 6 legs and a tail covered in spikes. The Korthian was massive, at least 9 feet tall with arms like tree trunks. The Zentaurian moved with liquid grace, its body covered in scales that seemed to shift colors. And then there was Gorvak. The Draknari champion stood apart from the others, radiating confidence. His forearms hung relaxed at his sides. His reptilian eyes scanned the other fighters with casual contempt. When his gaze fell on Jiwan, something that might have been amusement flickered across his alien features. Gorvak walked over, his heavy footsteps echoing on the metal floor. Up close, he was even more intimidating. Each of his arms was thicker than Jiwan's entire body. The armor plating on his skin looked harder than steel. "You are the human," Gorvak said. His voice was surprisingly clear, translated instantly by the neural device in Jiwan's ear. "I have heard of your species, soft creatures from a gentle world." Jiwan met his gaze without fear. "I am Commander Jiwan Park of the Earth Marine Corps." "Commander," Gorvak repeated as if testing the word. "A military rank. Your species sends a soldier to fight me. This is wise. At least you will know how to die with discipline." "I did not come here to die." Gorvak's laugh sounded like rocks grinding together. "They all say that. Every warrior I have faced believed they could win. They were all wrong. You will be wrong too, human. But I will make it quick. You are too small to provide entertainment for long." "Thank you for your consideration," Jiwan replied evenly. The Draknari champion studied him more carefully. You do not show fear. This is interesting. Perhaps you are braver than you look. Fear is just information telling you to be careful. I am always careful. Careful, Gorvak repeated. Yes, you will need to be very careful tomorrow, small warrior. One mistake and I will break you like the fragile thing you are. Before Jiwon could respond, the ceremony began. One by one, the fighters were called to enter the arena. When Gorvak's name was announced, the crowd erupted in cheers. The Draknari walked out to thunderous approval, raising all four arms in salute. Then it was Jiwon's turn. Commander Jiwon Park, representing humanity and the world called Earth. He walked out into the arena, and the noise changed. Laughter mixed with the cheers. He heard alien voices making comments he could not understand, but their meaning was clear. They thought he was a joke, a weak creature sent to be humiliated in front of the galaxy. Jiwon stood in the center of the arena and looked up at the thousands of alien faces staring down at him. Somewhere in those crowds were humans too. Ambassador Sunho and his staff watching with hope and dread. Human civilians who had traveled to Arena Station to witness this historic moment. He would not let them down. The ceremony continued with speeches from Confederation officials. They talked about honor and tradition. They praised the warriors for their courage. They reminded everyone that these trials represented the best each species had to offer. Finally, the master of ceremonies, a tall being with too many joints in its arms, addressed the crowd. Tomorrow we will witness combat between champions. We will see strength tested against strength, skill measured against skill. The victors will bring glory to their species. The defeated will learn humility. The crowd cheered again. Jiwon noticed many of them looking at him when the master mentioned defeat and humility. They had already decided how his match would end. Let them think that, he told himself. Overconfidence has destroyed more warriors than any weapon. After the ceremony, fighters were allowed to inspect the arena floor. Jiwon walked the entire circle, studying the surface. It was made of a material that provided good traction, without being rough enough to cause injury from falls. The walls around the fighting area were smooth and high, preventing anyone from leaving the arena during combat. He measured distances with his steps. From the center to the wall was exactly 47 paces. The total diameter was 94 paces. He memorized the exact dimensions. In battle, knowing your terrain could mean the difference between victory and death. Gorvak was also inspecting the arena, though with less care. He had fought here many times before. This was his territory, his domain of victory. He moved with the casual confidence of someone who had never lost. As Jiwon completed his inspection, he noticed other species ambassadors watching him from the observation boxes above. Some pointed and talked among themselves. He caught fragments of translated conversation. The human looked so small. This will be over in seconds. Why did they even bother sending someone? Jiwon ignored them all. Words meant nothing. Only action mattered. Tomorrow he would show them what a human marine could accomplish. That night sleep was difficult. Jiwon lay in his quarters staring at the ceiling, running through the plan in his mind. Drop low and roll right the instant Gorvak commits to his attack pattern. Come up beside the left leg. Strike at the nerve junction with maximum precision. Everything had to happen in perfect sequence. Minyo was in the next room, probably not sleeping either. His friend had been unusually quiet since the ceremony. Seeing Gorvak up close had shaken his confidence in the plan. The Draknari champion was more intimidating in person than in any recording. But Jiwon's confidence had not wavered. He had studied Gorvak's pattern. He knew the weakness existed. The question was not whether his plan could work. The question was whether he could execute it perfectly under pressure. He thought about his training. Thousands of hours spent learning to fight to survive, to win against superior opponents. The Marine Corps had taught him that size and strength were not the only factors in combat. Speed mattered. Timing mattered. Intelligence mattered most of all. Humans had not conquered Earth by being the strongest species. They had won through adaptation and tool use and strategic thinking. Those same qualities would serve him tomorrow in the arena. Just before dawn, station time, Jiwon finally fell asleep. He dreamed of the battle to come, his mind rehearsing the movements one final time. When he woke, sunlight was streaming through the windows. Artificial sunlight generated by the station, calibrated to match the preferences of the majority of Confederation species. It was slightly more orange than Earth's sun, giving everything a warm glow. Today was the day. In a few hours, he would walk into that arena. He would face Gorvak in front of thousands of witnesses. He would prove that humanity deserved respect. Or he would die trying. Minho brought breakfast, though Jiwon could barely eat. His stomach was tight with anticipation. Not fear exactly, but the heightened awareness that came before combat. Every sense felt sharper. Every moment felt significant. "Sir, whatever happens today, it has been an honor serving with you," Minho said formally. "This sounds like goodbye. I plan to see you after the match." "Of course, sir. I simply wanted you to know." They checked his equipment one final time. The combat knife was secured in its sheath on his belt. His uniform was clean and properly fitted. Everything was ready. A chime sounded from the communications panel. "Commander Park, you are requested to report to the fighter preparation area. Your match begins in 1 hour." Jiwon stood and took a deep breath. Time to go to work. As they walked through the corridors toward the arena, aliens stared and whispered. Some made gestures that might have been good luck wishes. Others clearly showed contempt or pity. Jiwon ignored them all and focused on what lay ahead. 1 fight, 3 seconds. That was all he needed. 3 perfect seconds to change everything. The fighter preparation area was cold and sterile. White walls reflected harsh lighting that made everything look sharp and clear. Jiwon sat on a metal bench, his hands resting calmly on his knees. Around him, medical staff moved between stations, preparing equipment for injuries that would come. Through the walls, he could hear the crowd. The first match had already finished. The Vrelian warrior had won against the Korthian champion in a brutal fight that lasted nearly 10 minutes. The audience was energized now, hungry for more combat. The second match was happening now. Sounds of impact echoed through the preparation area. Alien voices roared with excitement. The fight was clearly intense. Jiwon did not try to watch it on the monitors. He needed to stay focused on his own battle. Minho paced nearby, unable to sit still. His nervous energy filled the small space. Finally, he stopped and looked at Jiwon. "Sir, are you afraid?" Jiwon considered the question honestly. "Yes, fear keeps you alert. It reminds you that what you are doing matters. But I do not let fear control my actions. I am afraid for you. Gorvak is a monster. He is a warrior who has won many times. That makes him dangerous. But it also makes him predictable. He fights the way that has always worked before. He will not expect something different." The sounds from the arena suddenly grew louder. The second match had ended. Through the monitors, Jiwon saw the Zentaurian warrior being carried out on a medical stretcher. The Helian Guardian stood victorious, its body glowing with some kind of internal energy. An official entered the preparation area. He was a short alien with gray skin and large black eyes. His voice came through Jiwon's neural translator in flat, emotionless tones. "Commander Park, you have 15 minutes before your match begins. Do you require anything?" "No, I am ready." "You are aware that you may forfeit at any time before entering the arena. Once combat begins, the only way to stop the fight is to yield or lose consciousness. I understand the rules. I will not forfeit." The official made a notation on his datapad and left. Minho sat down next to Jiwon, his face tense with worry. 3 seconds, Jiwon said quietly. "That is all I need. Drop, roll, strike. 3 seconds to execute the plan perfectly. And if something goes wrong, if Gorvak adapts faster than you expect, then I adapt faster than he expects. Combat is a conversation between fighters. He says something with his attack. I respond with my defense. We continue until one of us makes a statement the other cannot answer." Minho smiled slightly despite his fear. "You make it sound like poetry. All fighting is poetry. Movement and rhythm and timing. The best warriors are artists." Another official entered. "Commander Park, it is time. Please follow me to the arena entrance." Jiwon stood. His body felt loose and ready. Thousands of hours of training had prepared his muscles for this moment. His mind was clear and focused. He picked up his combat knife and secured it to his belt one final time. Minho grabbed his arm. "Jiwon, come back alive. That is an order from your friend, not your sergeant. I will see you after the match. Save me some of that terrible coffee you make." They walked through narrow corridors that led toward the arena. The sounds of the crowd grew louder with each step. Jiwon could feel the vibration of thousands of voices through the walls, all those beings waiting to see the human get destroyed. The entrance tunnel was dark. At the far end, brilliant light from the arena floor created a bright rectangle. Ji-won could see part of the fighting circle from here. The surface was clean, no blood or marks from the previous battles. The Confederation maintained their arena carefully. Another official checked his equipment. Commander Park, as per the rules, you may carry standard military equipment. I see you have a combat knife. This is permitted. No other weapons are allowed. I understand. When your name is announced, walk to the center of the arena. Wait for your opponent. When the start signal sounds, combat begins. Do you have any questions? No questions. The official stepped back. Then we begin the introduction. Good luck, Commander. The Master of Ceremonies' voice boomed through the arena, translated simultaneously into hundreds of languages. Citizens of the Confederation, honored guests, we now present the third match of today's Trials of Strength. The crowd's noise increased. Ji-won could hear excitement mixed with cruel anticipation. They knew what was coming. The weak human against the unbeatable champion. From the world called Earth, representing the human species in their first appearance at the trials, we present Commander Ji-won Park of the Marine Corps. Ji-won walked forward into the light. The sound hit him like a physical force, 50,000 beings creating a wall of noise. Most were laughing or making sounds of mockery. He saw aliens pointing at him, their gestures clearly dismissive. He walked to the center of the arena and stood calmly. The light was bright, the air was warm, and the ground beneath his feet was solid. These were the facts that mattered. Everything else was just noise. The Master of Ceremonies let the crowd's reaction continue for a moment, then raised his voice again. And now, the 17-time champion of the trials, the pride of the Draknari warrior caste, the unbreakable one, we present Gorvak. The sound changed instantly. Mockery became cheering. The entire arena seemed to shake with approval as Gorvak entered from the opposite tunnel. The Draknari champion moved with deliberate slowness, savoring the attention. All four arms were raised in salute. His armored skin reflected the arena lights, making him look like a moving statue of metal. He was even more impressive here than in the preparation area, his presence commanding absolute attention. Gorvak walked to the center and stopped 10 feet from Ji-won. The size difference was staggering. The champion towered over the human warrior. One of his arms was longer than Ji-won's entire body. The Master of Ceremonies explained the rules, though everyone knew them already. Combat continues until one fighter yields or cannot continue. Killing is discouraged, but accidents are understood. When the signal sounds, the match begins. Gorvak looked down at Ji-won. Last chance to surrender, small warrior. I respect your courage, but courage alone is not enough. Neither is size alone, Ji-won replied quietly. Something flickered in Gorvak's eyes. Surprise maybe, or respect? You have spirit. I will remember you among my victories. The Master of Ceremonies raised his hand. The crowd fell silent. Tens of thousands of beings holding their breath. This was the moment they had been waiting for. The moment when the arrogant humans would learn their place. Ji-won shifted his weight slightly, preparing his body for explosive movement. His right hand moved closer to his knife, though he did not draw it yet. His eyes locked on Gorvak's body, watching for the tell he had seen in every recording. The signal sounded, a clear, sharp tone that echoed through the sudden silence. For a second, Gorvak launched forward exactly as Ji-won had predicted, four arms moving in perfect coordination, a whirlwind of strikes designed to overwhelm any defense. His cybernetic enhancements activated, making him even faster. This was his signature attack, the combination that had destroyed 17 opponents. But Ji-won was already moving. He dropped low, bending his knees and lowering his center of gravity. Gorvak's first strike passed through the space where his head had been a fraction of a moment earlier. The second and third strikes aimed for his torso met empty air. As Gorvak committed, the preparation area exploded with activity when Ji-won returned. Minyo grabbed him in a crushing embrace, laughing and shouting words that made no sense. Medical staff surrounded them, checking for injuries even though Ji-won had not been touched during the fight. Sir, you did it. You actually did it, Minho kept repeating. 3 seconds. Just like you said. 3 perfect seconds. Ji-won allowed himself a small smile. His body was still flooded with combat chemicals, adrenaline making his hands shake slightly now that the danger had passed. The plan worked because we prepared properly. This victory belongs to everyone who helped. Ambassador Sunho rushed into the room, his normally composed face showing pure joy. Commander Park, do you understand what you have accomplished? The entire galaxy just watched a human defeat their greatest warrior. My communications panel has not stopped alerting. Every species in the Confederation wants to speak with me. What are they saying? Everything. Shock, disbelief, respect, fear. Some are claiming the fight was staged. Others are demanding to know how you defeated Gorvak so quickly. The betting houses are in chaos. Millions of credits changed hands when you won. An official entered, the same gray-skinned being who had checked G1's equipment before the match. His large black eyes were wider than before. Commander Park, you are required to attend the victory ceremony. The Confederation Council wishes to present you with the champion's honor in 1 hour. After the official left, G1 sat down heavily. The reality of what had happened was starting to sink in. He had won. Against impossible odds, against a warrior who had never lost, he had found a way to victory. "Sir, you need to clean up before the ceremony," Minho said, bringing fresh clothes. "The entire galaxy will be watching." While G1 changed and prepared, Ambassador Sunho briefed him on what to expect. "The victory ceremony is formal. You will be presented to the Confederation Council. They will award you the Champion's Medallion, and your species will receive the privileges that come with victory." "What kind of privileges?" "Increased representation in council votes, priority status for trade negotiations, access to restricted technology markets. Most importantly, respect. Humans will no longer be dismissed as a minor species." G1 understood the implications. One fight had changed humanity's position in galactic politics. Future generations would benefit from what happened today in the arena. The hour passed quickly. When it was time, G1 walked through Arena Station's corridors with a full honor guard. Aliens who had mocked him before now stepped aside respectfully. Some bowed or made gestures that his translator identified as signs of respect. The ceremony took place in the Grand Chamber, a massive room with a ceiling that showed the stars outside. Thousands of dignitaries from hundreds of worlds filled the space. When G1 entered, all conversation stopped. Every eye turned to watch the human who had done the impossible. The Confederation Council sat on a raised platform. 12 beings from 12 different species, representing the most powerful civilizations in known space. Their leader, a tall being covered in what looked like living crystal, stood to address the assembly. "Commander G1 Park of Earth, you have achieved victory in the trials of strength. You have brought honor to your species through skill, courage, and intelligence. The Confederation recognizes humanity's place among us as equals." The crystal being stepped down from the platform and approached G1. In its hands was a medallion made of metals from dozens of worlds, symbolizing unity through competition. "Wear this with pride. You have earned it through honest combat." G1 accepted the medallion and bowed. "I am honored. I fought not for personal glory, but to prove that humanity deserves respect." "You have proven much more than that," the crystal being replied. "You have shown that strength comes in many forms. Physical power is not the only path to victory." The ceremony continued with speeches from various council members. Each praised the fight in different ways. Some focused on G1's tactical genius. Others discussed the implications for interspecies relations. All agreed that today marked a turning point. When the official proceedings ended, something unexpected happened. Gorvak entered the chamber. The Draknari champion had been treated for his injuries and could move normally again, though he walked with careful deliberation. He approached G1 directly. The crowd watched in silence, wondering what would happen. Would the defeated champion seek revenge? Would he challenge the result? Instead, Gorvak knelt on one knee before G1, lowering his massive frame in a gesture of profound respect. "Commander Park, you have defeated me fairly. More than that, you have taught me that I had become arrogant in my victories. I request permission to learn from you." G1 was genuinely surprised. "Learn from me? You have 20 years of combat experience. I should learn from you. Experience without wisdom is worthless. You possess wisdom I lack. You saw what others missed. You planned what others thought impossible. These are skills I wish to understand. Then I would be honored to share what I know. Warriors should help each other improve." Gorvak stood, and the two of them clasped arms in the traditional warrior's greeting. The crowd erupted in approval. This moment of respect between former opponents represented everything the trials were supposed to be about. Over the following hours, G1 found himself surrounded by aliens wanting to speak with him. Military commanders asked about human combat training. Scientists inquired about human neurology and reflexes. Diplomats discussed potential alliances and partnerships. A delegation from the Vrelian military approached. Their commander, the same warrior who had won the first match, spoke through a translator. "Commander Park, my species would be interested in exchange programs with your Marines. We wish to learn your analytical combat methods. I would need approval from my superiors, but I believe such an exchange would benefit both our peoples." Similar offers came from 4 other species. Everyone wanted to understand how humans approached warfare. The defeat of Gorvak had revealed that humanity possessed something valuable, a different way of thinking about combat that complemented physical strength. Dr. Huna Lee contacted him through his neural communicator. Her voice carried excitement. "Commander, the galactic scientific community is flooding our channels with requests. They want to study human pattern recognition abilities, our capacity for tactical analysis, our training methods. This is incredible. Make sure any information sharing benefits Earth as much as other species, Doctor. We have something valuable now. We should not give it away freely." "Understood, Commander. But this is still remarkable. Yesterday, most species barely acknowledged our existence. Today, everyone wants to work with us." That evening, Jiwan finally returned to the human quarters. He was exhausted from hours of ceremonies, meetings, and diplomatic conversations. Minho had ordered food from the station's human-compatible restaurant, and they ate together in comfortable silence. "Sir, what you did today will be remembered forever," Minho said eventually. "Every human child will learn about this fight. You are a hero now. I am a Marine who did his job, nothing more. You are more than that, and you know it. You changed humanity's future in 3 seconds." Jiwan looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, Earth hung in space, a small blue world that had seemed insignificant to most of the galaxy. But not anymore. Today, Earth had proven it belonged among the stars. His neural communicator buzzed. Admiral Yun's face appeared in his vision. "Commander Park, I have just finished reading reports about your victory. I knew you could do it. Thank you, sir. The plan worked because we had good intelligence and preparation time. The plan worked because you executed it perfectly under impossible pressure. The President of Earth wants to speak with you tomorrow. The entire planet is celebrating. They are calling you the greatest warrior humanity has ever produced. Sir, I am just one Marine. There are thousands like me. Perhaps. But you are the one who stood in that arena today. You are the one who proved we belong. Accept the honor, Jiwan. You earned it." After the call ended, Jiwan lay down on his bed. His body was finally relaxing, the combat chemicals leaving his system. Tomorrow would bring more ceremonies, more meetings, more attention. But tonight he could rest. He thought about the fight, replaying those 3 seconds in his mind. Every movement had been perfect. The timing had been exactly right. If anything had gone wrong, if he had been even slightly slower, Gorvak would have destroyed him. But nothing had gone wrong. Years of training, days of preparation, and 3 seconds of perfect execution had combined to create victory. Minho knocked on his door. "Sir, you should see this. The Galactic news networks are showing analysis of your fight. They have broken it down frame by frame. The analysts are calling it the most perfectly executed counterattack in Trial's history." Jiwan came out to watch the broadcast. On the screen, experts from various species discussed the fight. They showed his role in slow motion, analyzed his positioning, praised his knife strike. One analyst, a being with multiple eyes, made an interesting observation. What we witnessed was not just physical combat. Commander Park fought a mental battle first. He studied his opponent for days, identified a weakness that no one else had seen, and created a plan that required perfect execution. The preparation area exploded with activity when Jiwan returned. Minho grabbed him in a crushing embrace, laughing and shouting words that made no sense. Medical staff surrounded them, checking for injuries even though Jiwan had not been touched during the fight. "Sir, you did it. You actually did it," Minho kept repeating. 3 seconds. Just like you said. 3 perfect seconds. Jiwan allowed himself a small smile. His body was still flooded with combat chemicals, adrenaline making his hands shake slightly now that the danger had passed. The plan worked because we prepared properly. This victory belongs to everyone who helped. Ambassador Sunho rushed into the room, his normally composed face showing pure joy. "Commander Park, do you understand what you have accomplished? The entire galaxy just watched a human defeat their greatest warrior. My communications panel has not stopped alerting. Every species in the Confederation wants to speak with me. What are they saying? Everything. Shock, disbelief, respect, fear. Some are claiming the fight was staged. Others are demanding to know how you defeated Gorvak so quickly. The betting houses are in chaos. Millions of credits changed hands when you won. An official entered, the same gray-skinned being who had checked G1's equipment before the match. His large black eyes were wider than before. Commander Park, you are required to attend the victory ceremony. The Confederation Council wishes to present you with the champion's honor in 1 hour. After the official left, G1 sat down heavily. The reality of what had happened was starting to sink in. He had won. Against impossible odds, against a warrior who had never lost, he had found a way to victory. "Sir, you need to clean up before the ceremony," Minho said, bringing fresh clothes. "The entire galaxy will be watching." While G1 changed and prepared, Ambassador Sunho briefed him on what to expect. "The victory ceremony is formal. You will be presented to the Confederation Council. They will award you the Champion's Medallion, and your species will receive the privileges that come with victory." "What kind of privileges?" "Increased representation in council votes, priority status for trade negotiations, access to restricted technology markets. Most importantly, respect. Humans will no longer be dismissed as a minor species." G1 understood the implications. One fight had changed humanity's position in galactic politics. Future generations would benefit from what happened today in the arena. The hour passed quickly. When it was time, G1 walked through Arena Station's corridors with a full honor guard. Aliens who had mocked him before now stepped aside respectfully. Some bowed or made gestures that his translator identified as signs of respect. The ceremony took place in the Grand Chamber, a massive room with a ceiling that showed the stars outside. Thousands of dignitaries from hundreds of worlds filled the space. When G1 entered, all conversation stopped. Every eye turned to watch the human who had done the impossible. The Confederation Council sat on a raised platform. 12 beings from 12 different species, representing the most powerful civilizations in known space. Their leader, a tall being covered in what looked like living crystal, stood to address the assembly. "Commander G1 Park of Earth, you have achieved victory in the trials of strength. You have brought honor to your species through skill, courage, and intelligence. The Confederation recognizes humanity's place among us as equals." The crystal being stepped down from the platform and approached G1. In its hands was a medallion made of metals from dozens of worlds, symbolizing unity through competition. "Wear this with pride. You have earned it through honest combat." G1 accepted the medallion and bowed. "I am honored. I fought not for personal glory, but to prove that humanity deserves respect." "You have proven much more than that," the crystal being replied. "You have shown that strength comes in many forms. Physical power is not the only path to victory." The ceremony continued with speeches from various council members. Each praised the fight in different ways. Some focused on G1's tactical genius. Others discussed the implications for interspecies relations. All agreed that today marked a turning point. When the official proceedings ended, something unexpected happened. Gorvak entered the chamber. The Draknari champion had been treated for his injuries and could move normally again, though he walked with careful deliberation. He approached G1 directly. The crowd watched in silence, wondering what would happen. Would the defeated champion seek revenge? Would he challenge the result? Instead, Gorvak knelt on one knee before G1, lowering his massive frame in a gesture of profound respect. "Commander Park, you have defeated me fairly. More than that, you have taught me that I had become arrogant in my victories. I request permission to learn from you." G1 was genuinely surprised. "Learn from me? You have 20 years of combat experience. I should learn from you. Experience without wisdom is worthless. You possess wisdom I lack. You saw what others missed. You planned what others thought impossible. These are skills I wish to understand. Then I would be honored to share what I know. Warriors should help each other improve." Gorvak stood, and the two of them clasped arms in the traditional warrior's greeting. The crowd erupted in approval. This moment of respect between former opponents represented everything the trials were supposed to be about. Over the following hours, G1 found himself surrounded by aliens wanting to speak with him. Military commanders asked about human combat training. Scientists inquired about human neurology and reflexes. Diplomats discussed potential alliances and partnerships. A delegation from the Vrelian military approached. Their commander, the same warrior who had won the first match, spoke through a translator. "Commander Park, my species would be interested in exchange programs with your Marines. We wish to learn your analytical combat methods. I would need approval from my superiors, but I believe such an exchange would benefit both our peoples." Similar offers came from 4 other species. Everyone wanted to understand how humans approached warfare. The defeat of Gorvak had revealed that humanity possessed something valuable, a different way of thinking about combat that complemented physical strength. Dr. Huna Lee contacted him through his neural communicator. Her voice carried excitement. "Commander, the galactic scientific community is flooding our channels with requests. They want to study human pattern recognition abilities, our capacity for tactical analysis, our training methods. This is incredible. Make sure any information sharing benefits Earth as much as other species, Doctor. We have something valuable now. We should not give it away freely." "Understood, Commander. But this is still remarkable. Yesterday, most species barely acknowledged our existence. Today, everyone wants to work with us." That evening, Jiwan finally returned to the human quarters. He was exhausted from hours of ceremonies, meetings, and diplomatic conversations. Minho had ordered food from the station's human-compatible restaurant, and they ate together in comfortable silence. "Sir, what you did today will be remembered forever," Minho said eventually. "Every human child will learn about this fight. You are a hero now. I am a Marine who did his job, nothing more. You are more than that, and you know it. You changed humanity's future in 3 seconds." Jiwan looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, Earth hung in space, a small blue world that had seemed insignificant to most of the galaxy. But not anymore. Today, Earth had proven it belonged among the stars. His neural communicator buzzed. Admiral Yun's face appeared in his vision. "Commander Park, I have just finished reading reports about your victory. I knew you could do it. Thank you, sir. The plan worked because we had good intelligence and preparation time. The plan worked because you executed it perfectly under impossible pressure. The President of Earth wants to speak with you tomorrow. The entire planet is celebrating. They are calling you the greatest warrior humanity has ever produced. Sir, I am just one Marine. There are thousands like me. Perhaps. But you are the one who stood in that arena today. You are the one who proved we belong. Accept the honor, Jiwan. You earned it." After the call ended, Jiwan lay down on his bed. His body was finally relaxing, the combat chemicals leaving his system. Tomorrow would bring more ceremonies, more meetings, more attention. But tonight he could rest. He thought about the fight, replaying those 3 seconds in his mind. Every movement had been perfect. The timing had been exactly right. If anything had gone wrong, if he had been even slightly slower, Gorvak would have destroyed him. But nothing had gone wrong. Years of training, days of preparation, and 3 seconds of perfect execution had combined to create victory. Minho knocked on his door. "Sir, you should see this. The Galactic news networks are showing analysis of your fight. They have broken it down frame by frame. The analysts are calling it the most perfectly executed counterattack in Trial's history." Jiwan came out to watch the broadcast. On the screen, experts from various species discussed the fight. They showed his role in slow motion, analyzed his positioning, praised his knife strike. One analyst, a being with multiple eyes, made an interesting observation. What we witnessed was not just physical combat. Commander Park fought a mental battle first. He studied his opponent for days, identified a weakness that no one else had seen, and created a plan that required perfect execution. 50 years after the 3-second fight that changed everything, the galaxy looked very different. Arena Station had been expanded 3 times to accommodate the growing number of species participating in the trials. But the trials themselves had changed. They were no longer just about proving strength. Now they included competitions in strategy, diplomacy, and cooperative problem-solving. In a classroom on Earth, a young instructor named Jaemin stood before 30 cadets beginning their training in the Strategic Operations Division. He was 25 years old, born long after Jiwan's famous victory, but he had studied every detail of that fight and the career that followed. "Today we begin by studying the Battle of Arena Station," Jaemin said, activating a holographic display. "Who can tell me why this 3-second fight is still relevant 50 years later?" A cadet named Bora raised her hand. "Because Colonel Park proved that humans could compete with physically superior species through intelligence and preparation. That is part of it. But there is more. The fight changed how the entire galaxy thinks about conflict resolution. It showed that understanding your opponent is more important than overpowering them. Jamin played the recording of the fight. Even after 50 years, watching it still created excitement. The footage had been analyzed millions of times by military academies across dozens of worlds. Every movement Jiwan made had been studied, discussed, and incorporated into training programs. Notice how Colonel Park does not panic when Gorvak attacks, Jamin continued. He executes his plan calmly because he is prepared thoroughly. This is the foundation of human military doctrine. We do not rely on superior strength or advanced technology. We rely on superior preparation. The cadets took notes eagerly. Many of them came from families with military traditions. Some had parents or grandparents who had served under Jiwan or trained at the Institute for Strategic Studies. For them, the story was personal history. After class, Bora approached Jimin with a question. "Instructor, is it true that Colonel Park is still alive?" "Yes, though he is very old now. He lives quietly with his family and rarely gives interviews. Do you think he would speak to our class?" "We would be honored to meet him," Jamin smiled. "I can make the request, but Colonel Park values his privacy. He has said everything he needs to say through his actions and his teaching." But the request was made, and surprisingly, Jiwan agreed. 3 weeks later, the cadets gathered in a special assembly hall. They wore their dress uniforms and stood at attention as the legendary warrior entered. Jiwan was 92 years old now. He walked slowly with a cane, his body bent by age and old injuries, but his eyes were still sharp and alert, missing nothing. Beside him walked Gorvak, who had remained his close friend for half a century. The Draknari was also old, his armor plating dulled and scarred by time. The cadets stared in awe. They had seen recordings of both warriors in their prime, but seeing them in person was different. These two beings had made history together, first as opponents and then as partners in building a better galaxy. "Please sit," Jiwan said, his voice still strong despite his age. "I am too old to stand for long speeches." The cadet sat, leaning forward to catch every word. "Your instructor asked me to speak about the fight that made me famous. I have avoided such requests for many years because I worry that people focus too much on 3 seconds and not enough on the years of preparation that made those 3 seconds possible." He paused, gathering his thoughts. "I was not born a great warrior. I was not naturally talented or physically gifted. What I had was curiosity, discipline, and refusal to accept that problems could not be solved. These qualities can be learned by anyone." Gorvak spoke next, his deep voice filling the room. "When I lost to G1, I was angry at first. I had never been defeated. My pride was damaged. But then I realized that losing to him was the best thing that ever happened to me. It taught me that there was always more to learn, always room to improve." "The fight itself was brief," G1 continued, "but the lesson it taught has lasted decades. Every species has strengths and weaknesses. Success comes from understanding both your strengths and your limitations, then finding ways to maximize one while minimizing the other." A cadet raised his hand nervously. "Sir, when you walked into the arena and saw how big Gorvak was, were you afraid?" G1 smiled. "Of course I was afraid. Fear is natural and useful. It heightens your senses and focuses your mind. The key is not to eliminate fear, but to act correctly despite being afraid." "What if your plan had failed?" another cadet asked. "Then I would have adapted and tried something else, or I would have lost. But I would have lost, knowing I gave my best effort with the tools and knowledge available to me. That is all anyone can do." For 2 hours, G1 and Gorvak answered questions. They talked about their fight, about their friendship, about the changes they had witnessed in galactic society. The cadets listened with complete attention, knowing they were hearing history from those who had lived it. As the session ended, Bora approached them. "Sir, what advice would you give to young warriors like us?" G1 thought carefully before answering. "Remember that being a warrior is not about fighting. It is about protecting others and serving something larger than yourself. The best warriors are those who find ways to resolve conflicts without violence. But when violence is necessary, they act with precision and purpose, never with anger or hate." Gorvak added, "And remember that former enemies can become greatest friends. G1 defeated me, but through that defeat we both grew stronger. Do not hold grudges. Learn from everyone, even those who oppose you." After they left, the cadets talked excitedly about meeting the legendary figures. Bora turned to her classmates. Did you see how humble he was? He never boasted about his victory or acted superior. That is what makes him truly great, Jamin said. He understands that his fight was not about personal glory. It was about opening doors for humanity and showing what we could contribute to the galaxy. Meanwhile, Jiwan and Gorvak traveled to the Institute for Strategic Studies, now located on Earth as well as several other worlds. The Institute had become one of the most prestigious educational institutions in the Confederation. Students competed fiercely for admission, knowing that graduation guaranteed opportunities anywhere in the galaxy. The current director, a human named Wanshik, greeted them warmly. Colonel Park, Champion Gorvak, thank you for visiting. Our students are honored by your presence. They toured the facilities together. The Institute had grown far beyond what G1 had originally imagined. Advanced simulation rooms allowed students to practice conflict resolution in virtual environments. Libraries contained knowledge from hundreds of species. Research laboratories studied new approaches to diplomacy and strategy. In one classroom, students from 6 different species worked together on a joint project. A human student collaborated with a Draknari, a Vrelian, and 3 species G1 did not immediately recognize. They debated ideas energetically but respectfully, each bringing their unique perspective to the problem. This is what I hope to create, G1 said quietly. Young beings from different worlds learning to work together, to respect each other's differences while finding common ground. That evening, there was a formal dinner honoring G1 and Gorvak. Representatives from dozens of species attended, including several who had been direct beneficiaries of the conflict resolution methods they had pioneered. One representative, a being from a species called the Tellurians, spoke emotionally. 50 years ago, my people were at war with our neighbors. The conflict had lasted 30 years and killed millions. Human advisors came and showed us different ways to think about our dispute. Within 2 years, the war ended and we formed a lasting partnership with our former enemies. This would not have been possible without the methods Colonel Park developed. Similar stories came from representatives of other species. Economic partnerships that had replaced trade wars, territorial agreements that had ended border conflicts, cultural exchanges that had replaced mutual hatred with understanding. All of these successes traced back to the principles G1 had demonstrated and taught. As the dinner concluded, Ambassador Sunho, now very old himself but still active in diplomatic service, stood to make a final toast. 50 years ago, I watched a young Marine walk into an arena against impossible odds. I was terrified he would be killed and that humanity would be humiliated before the galaxy. Instead, I witnessed the beginning of a transformation that is still unfolding today. He raised his glass. To Colonel G1 Park, who proved that strength comes in many forms. To Champion Gorvak, who had the wisdom to learn from defeat. And to the friendship between species that they helped create. May their example guide us for the next 50 years and beyond. Everyone raised their glasses and drank. G1 felt uncomfortable with the praise as he always had. He had simply done his duty as he understood it. That his actions had larger consequences was fortunate, but it was not why he had fought. Later, as he prepared to return home, Wanshik approached him privately. Colonel, there is something I need to tell you. We have been tracking outcomes related to your methods over the past 50 years. The data is remarkable. He showed G1 a holographic chart displaying conflict statistics across